we're hugely grateful for you being here, and we're looking forward to hearing you speak. So thank you for coming.
Thank you so much. Thanks. Hello, everyone. I am absolutely petrified of thunder and lightning. So I'm just putting that out there. So if it does that again and I run off, that's what's happened. So yes, thank you, Gary. So I am Debi Marriott-Lavery, and as Gary says, I'm the Group Exec Director for an organisation called Places for People. And what do? So we're basically a social landlord. So we support the most vulnerable in society, and we build and create and support houses and communities for those individuals. And that will be, as Mike's just been talking about, disabled individuals through a mental or physical disability. It could be somebody experiencing a chaotic lifestyle through homelessness or fleeing domestic abuse, or it could just be a young family who are on the lowest kind of socio-economic ladder and they need some help with housing and support. And that's what we do. It's about 70,000 properties across England and Scotland. I'm responsible for about 2,500 colleagues, and it's about 400 million of turnover. So we're a pretty big organisation that's got a legacy of about sort of 50 years. So that's what I do, and that's who I am. I'm a nurse by background. Please don't be ill, anyone, because it's a long time since I did any form of clinical intervention. But the reason that I say that is because I think that hopefully, although yes, I do like to style it out, Gary, you're absolutely right, kind of being empathetic, caring for people, just being a really strong leader, and really, really, really resonating. A lot of the things that I've heard today about being people first is very, very important to me. And I think that that goes way back to all of those years when I was nursing, and I think it's stuck with me forever. And I'm just kind of very lucky, I think, that I've just been able to kind of impact so many kind of people's lives through kind of coming into contact with people throughout my career. So why am I here and why am I speaking? So last summer, in the very lockdown, I was really humbled because I was nominated for an award for at the Inspiring Workplaces, and I kind of was like, oh, that's really nice, isn't it? Oh my God, all these years somebody actually thinks that I actually do quite a good job. So I was nominated by my colleagues, which was like super, particularly because we, like all of you, had been in lockdown and all the things that you've talked about today. Particularly tough time. You can imagine the types of work that I've talked about. We had to keep going through COVID. We had no choice. So it was tough. It was tough. Like all of you, I'm sure, it was tough. So to get that nomination was really kind of lovely. And then I bloody won it. So I was like doing that, oh, I'm just happy to be nominated, all that kind of stuff. Anyway, I bloody well won it, which was like a real surprise. And of course, the ceremony was on Teams. You've all talked about that today. And it was on Teams or Zoom or whatever it was. And I happened to be in a hotel room at the time because I think we were just coming out of COVID, and I was kind of back in meetings or something, but it was still, there was all sorts of parameters. So we weren't all meeting like this. So I sat there one evening and with a little screen in front of me, and they said, oh, you've been nominated for this award, blah, blah, blah. So I'm sitting there, and I think it was Matt who announced the awards, and he called my name, and I was like, oh my God, this is kind of crazy. And he was like, it was one of those, is she there? Is she there? And it's on flipping Zoom. So I'm like pressing every button known to man, going, yes, I'm here. Anyway, I never was there, and I cut myself off, and that was the end of it. You can tell my IT skills are not as good as my empathy and my caring skills, clearly. But I think that's why I'm here today, because I think basically I've just come to do a thank you speech. So I'm kind of like doing my whole kind of Gwyneth Paltrow thing, and it's just kind of a big thing, and I just feel very privileged. So I think that really kind of that's the only reason that I'm here today. So yes, thank you everyone. It was lovely, and I really appreciate it. So you've all talked about this, and this is, why I won the award, I think, and I'm sure that, I'm not alone, because I've heard so many stories today of how you all did this. And I'm only really going to touch on this a little bit, because a lot of the work that we had to do was through the crisis, and we had to pivot and flex like everyone else. All the rules were off in every which way, shape or form. It's how do you support 100,000 customers, 2,000 colleagues when the world's gone mad? How do you do that? And we all had to do it, and we did it very well. But what I wanted to say about this is, it's not really changed, has it? And it's not about COVID anymore. It's about Ukrainian war. It's about a cost of living crisis. It seems that every single thing and every day, as leaders of businesses, that we actually are facing some sort of global crisis. And the biggest one that I'm facing right now with my colleagues is the cost of living crisis. Yes, there's a knock-on effect of the pandemic, of course there is, and we've talked about that. But really, it's the cost of living crisis. I've just talked to you about the type of customers that we support. And so for them, it's very often on a day-to-day basis, it's a choice between heat or eat. And that's a reality. So the colleagues that I work with my teams have to deal with that. We have to really support individuals who are so stressed and so challenged by a kind of a financial crisis or a financial kind of bomb. And that could be that there's a vet's bill, or it could just be that they just need to go to a food bank because they just can't afford to put food in their fridge that particular week. And it's my colleagues and my teams that have to deal with that. So therefore, we have to support those colleagues. And a lot of our colleagues as well are in a similar position. We're in a world at the moment where some colleagues can't afford to put fuel in their car and drive to work. And without those colleagues, I'm absolutely stuffed. So to me, it's about, as a leader, how do I support those individuals? How do I make sure that those guys are right at the front line, doing all the stuff we did through the pandemic, and I'm sure you all did the same, but how are we still continuing? Because it's not gone away, has it? We didn't all have the pandemic and then all go, phew, that's all over with now. It's the next one and the next one. Resilience is just unbelievable. How we, as people, have to be more and more resilient on a day-to-day basis. And as a leader of a business, that's the thing for me that I've really seen, that I've needed to be. And I've had to change my approach. I've been a strong leader all of my life, all of my career. I was fast-tracked through the NHS. I was a sister on a ward by the time I was 21. So I've always had something in me that's a bit kind of driven, and I want to do things well, and I want to look after people, and that's the way that I've been. But I've had to even change the way that I've worked in the last few years about how do I really connect and not only support my customers, but support my colleagues as well. And so for me, I think that what we've learned is that a great culture starts with a vision and a purpose, and some of you have sort of talked about that today. So when the chips are really down for our colleagues and they are struggling to put fuel in the car, but they are supporting somebody who's struggling to eat, and we're trying to get fuel vouchers, or we're trying to deal with a big antisocial behaviour issue because everyone's under massive pressure. But actually, when you've got an organisation like ours that has a strong social purpose, it is a bit easier. Because even when those chips are down, people do want to come to work. You know, Gary said on my LinkedIn profile, it says, I love what I do. Told you I'm going. Oh, God. I've got this thing on as well. Do you think that I could be struck down? I love what I do, and I've got a number of my colleagues here with me today, and I know that they love what they do as well. We feel very privileged and very humbled to be allowed into kind of people's lives, but it does really help. And so, you know, for me, our vision and our mission and our purpose is all about thriving communities. And that's not just our customers, that's our colleagues as well. How do we become a community? How do we support? How have we done that through COVID? How are we going to do that through the next 2 years at least of the cost of living crisis, so that we absolutely survive and some, and that we do just such a great job every day that no matter how tough it is, we keep coming back to work because we think what we're doing really makes a difference to people's lives. So that's how we absolutely in our world keep going every single day. And all the things that you've talked about, all the Yammer, all the blogs, all of those things we do and have had to do and have to keep touch points because, you know, as I say, some of our colleagues even live in some of our properties. So therefore, they are really struggling as well. And I can't just say enough how important that is. So as a leader, that is what we're focusing on. And so for me, there are 3 things, and you've said them today, you kind of picked them out, buzzwords, so I think I must be doing something right, actually. I'm not as daft as I think I am. So how have we really connected? Well, you've got to be authentic. And we hear this word a lot recently. Yeah, we've got to be authentic. What does it mean? What does it mean? Well, it means, to me, being real, so that my colleagues see that I am real, and whether that's my exec team or whether that's the joiners who are absolutely putting the kitchens back for the customers, you know, when the door's fallen off, whether it's the plumber who's dealing with the tap, whether it's the key worker who's dealing with the antisocial behaviour, whether it's a social worker, whatever it is, I need to be real to them and I need to be approachable. And I also need to understand what their issues are and break down those barriers for them, because I know how difficult their job is. So I have to be connected to them. I have to be connected to the customers, and I have to be authentic and real. So on my LinkedIn profile, it does say that I love my job, and it does say I style it out. And what I mean by that is sometimes I have no idea what I'm doing. I just feel instinctively that it's the right thing to do. And so therefore I just think, yeah, that's the right thing to do. And it's the right thing for those people, so I'll just style it out. And that's what I mean by that. And that's what I do every day, and I've been doing that for the last 3 years and will probably continue to do so. I also listen. I think you listen and you hear. The power of listening is just amazing. You can also hear I can talk as well. I love talking too, but I love listening because you pick up so much. And throughout COVID, we picked up so much about individuals and their complexities and complexities of personalities and how that makes all the world go round and how we all interact. And we like things interacting differently. And some of us liked COVID. They liked to be introverted and to sit at home. I bloody hated it. I wanted to be out dressed like this, doing daft things. So for me, it was a bloody nightmare. But for others, so we're just such complex individuals. So you have to listen. You have to listen and you have to hear. And you have to make sure that the decisions you make as a leader are right and resonant and relevant for those individuals. And you have to connect. You really, really do. And there are different ways of connecting, and I'm going to talk about some of that in a minute. The whole kind of, I'm very conscious, Gen Z, you know, all of that you've talked about as well. How do we absolutely connect? I've got customers in the 90s. I've got young children who are probably the most disadvantaged in society, as I've said. I've got all sorts of different, diverse customer groups. So how do you connect with them and what do you do? And how do you connect with your colleagues? Because what's important to them? And there are sort of different ways that we can do that. So the way that you do it, for me as well, is you put your own oxygen mask on first. And that's really hard. You know, sometimes when you know, I've done all these personality profiles, which I'm sure you all have, and mine constantly says that I don't do this. That actually what I do is I always think of others first, and that's sometimes at my detriment as a leader. And so what I did in COVID, I put my oxygen mask on first and just made sure that I was okay, because being in a room looking at that screen was not good for me, and it was not good for my mental health. So what was I going to do to make sure I could keep being that leader, and I could keep smiling, and I could keep inspiring, and I could keep making the right decisions day in, day out, pivoting, flexing. So what do you do? How do you do that? You reach and you search, and all of you, every single one of you will have something that is yours, that takes you away, that takes you to your happy place. Whether that's that you run, whether it's that you play football, whether it is that you read, whether it's that you knit, whatever it is. And for me in COVID, that was so important to me. I paint. That's what I do. I went to art college years ago, and it's something that's so important. And over the last few years, I've probably painted 2 or 3 paintings a year. In COVID, I probably did about 30. And it was just prolific. And it was every Sunday afternoon for a few hours, and I painted. And if you see my LinkedIn, you'll see some of my pictures on my LinkedIn. That's one of them. They're a bit mad, they're a bit wacky. That's all about my insides. It was all a bit crazy. I was like, I'm sharing, because I do that. I'm being real. I had a hysterectomy, so you can see that. It was all a bit odd. I was a bit like deep. I was like, yeah. But I enjoyed it, and it was really important for me. And that's the kind of thing I share. You know, I heard today we talk about menopause. I had surgical menopause, so I share that because I had a hysterectomy, and that's really important to my colleagues. I share the fact that I need, as a leader, to put my own oxygen mask on, and I need to paint, otherwise I'd be even more gaga than I am now. So that is what I mean about being real and connecting and doing it. And what I would say is, whatever you do, just do it with passion, because that's what people will follow. You know, the word inspirational is so fantastic, isn't it? But inspirational is that. And if you do anything with passion, people will follow you, people will get inspired, people will kind of feed off your energy. And just what you can do then as a collective group of people is phenomenal. And that's, I think, what we all did as society in COVID. And I think that's what we're going to have to do for the next couple of years. So dig deep, find what is your happy place and absolutely do it with passion and do it with pride and enjoy it, and you will put your own oxygen mask on and you'll be bloody brilliant. So here ended the lesson on that. So in terms of connecting, what do we do? How do we do that? How do you get everywhere and do everything? Well, I'm an old woman. I've just told you, I'm an old woman, really. I don't like to tell many people that, so please don't put that on social media. And you have to pivot, and you have to change, and you have to flex, don't you? And yes, there's all sorts of ways of communicating, and you have to move with the times, and you have to be relevant. And so somebody said to me, one of my colleagues sat over there, we need to get your messages out, we need to do vlogs, we need to do blogs, and I was doing that every week through COVID, and it gets a bit boring, and it gets a bit tired, and it was like, we're all doing the same thing. So I thought, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a TikTok video. And so I've done about 4 or 5 of these now to my team, to my colleagues, and this is how we connect. And this is how we make sure that we can be as relevant as we can, we can be as inspirational as we can just do things differently, and we can just keep on trucking on and just being bloody marvellous, and because life's tough. And so hopefully this will make you laugh. Hopefully it works for a start. Right? Here we go.
That's exactly how I feel. That's exactly how I feel. That's exactly how I feel. Don't hide no emotions. Wear 'em on my sleeve. All my feelings Gucci.
Simple, but it gets the message over, and it's just that bit different. So thank you for listening to me. I hope you have a great day, and just please don't thunder. Thank you very much.